I'm a great fan of promiscuous conversation, and there's one example I'd give in the UK. There's a guy called Anjem Choudhury who was a very prominent, led a tiny number of British Muslims, but a really very, very vehement and violent group. And 10 years ago or so, I was challenged to a debate by a student society in London with him, and I said I'd do it, and it turned out to be a front group and things, and there ended up being a kind of riot in the London streets, and the police asked me not to come, but I said, hell, it's my capital city, I'll come. In fact, not only did they duff up a colleague, but the police got there in time to get me out. But the bit we did have in the street was very, very helpful. Firstly, because I got him to say something I'd always thought he thought, and he said it in public. And secondly, that on the basis of that event, the terrorist group which he was leading was shut down by the British government, finally. And I know that the security services and the police were taking photos, and that in the 1 year after it, by about a year after that occasion, at least half a dozen of the people who were in front of me with Anjem Choudhury had been sent to prison for trying to kill people. And I was very pleased that this event had smoked them out, and they'd appeared in public, and they shouted vile stuff at me and so on. It wasn't very pleasant to have 100 jihadis against me in the street, but it turned out to do an immense amount of good. And we met on subsequent occasions in slightly more studio-like environments. And again, you could show up what he thought, and just the fact that he just wasn't somebody engaging in normal dialogue. He was somebody who had a bunch of people behind him, who he was encouraging to blow people up and assassinate them in Britain and around the world. And I'm very glad that he's now in prison. Not the only one of my enemies who's now in prison, incidentally, but that's another story.